Welcome dear students to yet another lecture on the history of English language and literature. In our class today, we shall discuss about feminism. Feminism, we have heard about feminism, this particular word we have heard. Feminism and feminist literary criticism is important for any student of literature. Now we shall have a short introduction to this vast topic called feminism. Now what is feminism? Feminism is a range of social movements, a range of political movements and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal and social equality of the sexes. Equality, there are men, women, male, female, the equality of the sexes. It is important to note that the voices of women began to be heard on the literary scene along with other minorities in England. There was large participation of women in the war economy. There were also many women laborers, and England witnessed women's movement for gender equality. The women's movement was a prelude to the feminism of the 60s. So there is a women's movement for equality in England. Now what is feminism? Feminism is a modern social movement that is concerned with the progress of women. It is based on the principles of equality and emancipation of women. So naturally we will ask, what is the basis of this feminism? Why this so much talk about equality of women? Why this talk about emancipation of women? The basic assumptions that led to feminism are, what are the basic assumptions of feminism? Gender roles are predetermined. In society we have masculine gender, feminine gender. The roles for each genders are already predetermined by the society. So gender roles are predetermined. The second assumption is that women are conditioned to fit into cultural roles constructed by a patriarchal society. Society is patriarchal, governed and ruled by the male. The role of the woman is conditioned. So we see feminism as a movement. Feminism gained momentum as a movement in the 20th century, and it spans three phases. It is called the three waves of feminism. And in our lecture today, we will talk in just about the three waves of feminism. First wave, second wave and third wave. The first wave of feminism was between 1830 to 1920. The first wave of feminism, it was quite political. This wave was primarily concerned with gaining legal rights for women. Politics and business were completely dominated by men, and women were considered incapable of them. Women were mainly confined to the households. The unmarried women were considered as the property of their fathers. The married women were the properties of their husbands. They did not even have the ability to file a divorce. Women had no right to vote, as they were considered as second-class citizens. Suffrage for women was one of the important goals of the first wave of feminism, right to vote. The suffrage movement and the civil rights movement kick-started the first wave of feminism. So the first wave of feminism, it was mostly political, the right for vote. Now what about the second wave of feminism? The second wave of feminism is considered to be between 1860 and 1880. Now it was a reaction. The second wave of feminism was a reaction of women who had to return to their homes as housewives and mothers after the Second World War. The men who had to leave the workforce for war returned after war, and the women who were forced to return to their homes. The women had replaced men in different industries. Now after having worked and were independent of women during the Second World War, women did not want to resume their role as housewives. The movement was concentrated in the US, and it will slowly spread to other Western states. While the first wave of feminism was focusing on suffrage and struggle for vote, the second wave of feminism was concerned with public and private injustices. There was widespread effort to reform the negative and inferior image of women in popular culture to a more positive and realistic one. Women created their own popular culture, and the movement spread through feminist films, music, books and even restaurants. The second wave is a critique of patriarchy for constructing women's cultural identity. So the second wave was more cultural than political. Now what about the third wave of feminism? The time period is post 1980s. The third wave feminism is mainly academic and is closely related to Marxism, post-structuralism and psychoanalysis. So it is mostly academic. The third wave feminists criticized the failings of the first and the second wave. The third wave tried to bring in communities that were previously left out of feminist goals. They focused on race and gender. The third wave also focused on the reproductive rights of women. The reproductive rights of women. Feminists advocated women's right to make her choices about her body and tried to state that it was her basic right to have access to birth control, abortion, etc. So my dear students, we have discussed the three waves of feminism. The first wave was political, the second wave was cultural, and the third wave was more academic. Feminism and feminist criticism is very much part of the study of English language and literature. The problem of unequal treatment of women in society has been a theme of even the ancient works, unequal treatment of women. But the first person to make a theoretical exploration of gender inequality was Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft. In her work, In Vindication of the Rights of Women, which was published in 1792, she discussed the male writers like Milton, Alexander Pope, Rousseau, etc. Her contribution to feminist criticism is the shift from femininity as natural to femininity as social. Femininity is not something natural, it is constructed by the society. Virginia Woolf is acclaimed as the founder of feminist literary criticism. In her work A Room of One's Own, that came out in 1929, she vividly portrays the unequal treatment given to women who seek education and alternative to marriage and motherhood. She brought about the idea of the androgynous creative mind. Androgynous creative mind. Androgyny for Virginia Woolf was a theory that aimed to offer men and women the chance to write without consciousness of their sex, the result of which would ideally result in uninhibited creativity. Androgyny is a combination of masculine and feminine characteristics, and when we are born, we are put into the category of men and women. When we are born, we are put into the category of men and women. The society has put into man his roles. The society has put into woman her roles. So according to Woolf, the most creative mind is the union of the two, the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine. Another important person that is concerned with feminism is Simone de Beauvoir, and her important work is The Second Sex, that came out in 1949. She pioneered the second wave of feminism with her statement, "One is not born a woman but becomes one." She held that the essence of woman was a construct of the patriarchal society at all levels. A woman, her role is constructed by the society at all levels: political, social, economic and religious. So my dear students, we had a short introduction about the topic called feminism. Feminism and feministic literary criticism is a vast portion in English literature. We had a short description of the same. We talked about the three waves of feminism: first wave, second wave and third wave. We said the first wave was mostly political, the second wave was cultural, the third was academic. We also talked about three important persons. For the assignment, please write a long answer on feminism, the three waves of feminism, and some other important authors and their works which I have mentioned in the lecture. Please stay safe at home, have a joyful learning. I want to remind you that the third semester is coming to an end. The examination will come when the pandemic is over. We are going to begin our fourth semester soon. So please go through all these lectures once again, and as you know, the history of English language and literature is the most difficult paper to study and pass in our semester. So please have a joyful learning. Please take care to learn. Have a nice time. Thank you.